We also spoke with New Hampshire Democrat Jeanee Shaheen while she was in Munich, focusing on the negotiations to end the war in Ukraine, as well as bipartisan efforts in the Senate to help Ukraine. In terms of negotiations, there were some comments made by President Trump this week. The defense secretary said returning to Ukraine's pre-2014 borders is unrealistic. He's suggesting that maybe the east and another part of Ukraine and Crimea will be taken by Russia. Why do you think there was this plan to give concessions before talks begin?
Well, I think it was a mixed message coming from the administration. On the one hand, you heard Secretary Hegseth saying they were going to take NATO off the table, that Ukraine needed to give up territory. And on the other hand, you had Vice President Vance saying that everything should be on the table, including the possibility of putting boots on the ground in Ukraine. So it's a mixed message. I hope that the upshot of that is that we are going to do everything we can to support Ukraine.
In terms of what Congress can do, are your hands tied here, or are some of your Republican colleagues willing to put something perhaps in an upcoming defense bill, for example, that might help Ukraine?
Well, I think that's one option. One of the things that we're talking about doing right away is making some statements on the repossession of assets by Russia that are held in the United States and in Europe, and the importance of having those assets go to Ukraine to help both with the execution of the military conflict, but also to think about rebuilding. Again, there's bipartisan support. There was bipartisan support for the bill, and there's bipartisan support to continue to try and ensure that those assets from Russia get repaid to Ukraine, because Russia is really the aggressor here, and we need to hold Vladimir Putin accountable.
Mm-hmm. You know, your Republican counterpart, Roger Wicker, he is the chair of the Armed Services Committee, was really sharp in his comments at Munich. He was saying he was puzzled, he was disturbed by what the defense secretary, a member of his own party, had said about Ukraine. He was very clear that what Vladimir Putin is doing, he said, is absolutely out of Adolf Hitler's playbook. Those are sharp words, considering the president of the United States says he wants to meet face-to-face to Vladimir Putin and possibly bring him to the White House.
Well, they are sharp words, and they are very much justified, regardless of what President Trump may be doing to try and lay the groundwork for any future negotiations. The fact is there is strong bipartisan support in Congress to help Ukraine in this unfair war that Russia has initiated. And I think Senator Wicker's comments are very important.
At the conference you're at, you are able to speak with European leaders. What are they saying to you about their view of America now?
Well, we had a chance to meet with representatives from Britain, from Canada, not a European country, but also very concerned about Ukraine, with people from the Balkan countries, with President Zelensky, obviously, and there is a great deal of concern about the U.S. position on Ukraine. At the panel that we had with President Zelensky, we talked about the importance of Europe and the United States acting in concert so that we can hold Putin accountable with sanctions, so that we can, so that there's no daylight between the United States and our NATO allies and our European allies. Mm-hmm. Clearly, that's what Vladimir Putin has been trying to do throughout this conflict. And we need to make it clear that that is not going to happen, that we are going to work together and we are going to support Ukraine.
Does Congress need to be any part of approving this deal President Trump says he wants to take possession of some of the critical minerals that Ukraine has inside their territory? He says he wants to use that as sort of repayment for what the U.S. has spent on weapons.
Well, I think there are some benefits to having the United States have some investments in Ukraine. That's part of what a critical minerals deal would do. It's not at all clear who has possession of those critical minerals. Some of them are in the eastern part of Ukraine, where Russia controls the territory. Some of them are owned by private, actually oligarchs. There are several oligarchs who own a number of those critical mineral sites. So I think that those are details that have not yet been worked out, and I have not seen the agreement that's been put in front of President Zelensky.
Well, we know Zelensky will be discussing that with other members of the administration. We'll stay tuned on that. But I do want to bring up something that sorry, go ahead.
One of the things that in our conversations with President Zelensky reiterated nothing about Ukraine without Ukraine. And he got reassurances from the bipartisan senators that he met with that we agree Ukraine absolutely must be part of any negotiations between Russia and the United States.
Senator Shaheen, thank you for your time today.
Thank you.